this podcast. Today we're sitting down with Jesse Harville, aka Endzo, and his wife, Ashley Harville. Endzo has an amazing testimony to share with us today. Let's hop right into it.
All right. Like she was saying, my name is Jesse Harville, but most of the county, most of the world knows me as Endzo. I'm 38 years old. I live in Sparta, Tennessee. Most of the old folks from my family, they come from Spencer, Tennessee, so that's where it kind of all started when I was a baby. My mother had me when she conceived with me when she was 13, had me when she was 14, so we kind of grew up together up until I guess the state took us. I was about 13 or 14 years old. We ended up in foster care, but I guess I should back up just a little bit. My home life wasn't very stable, I guess you could say. There's a lot of drugs, meth labs and stuff like that right there. Just stuff to walk around that was on the table there in my very home. I would have friends over at a young age, and they would see the makings of a meth lab laying in the living room and ask me what that was, and I was surprised and shocked that they didn't have that stuff in their home.
Yeah.
I thought it was furniture, pretty much. So I lived like that pretty hard for the first 10 or 13 years of my life. Mother's in and out. She would take off and be gone for weeks at a time through heavy addiction, which I guess, this ain't about her, it's about me, I guess, so we'll stay on track. I made it to about 14, I guess. I was selling crack to pay the bills there and raising 2 or 3 siblings, and it went good after they come and took my mother to jail and left me there. They knew there was no adult in the home, so they left us there. And like I said, I had 2 or 3 siblings, so I started to sell drugs to take care of them, since it's all I really had. And I did good for almost a year until they started missing and skipping school. And that's when Child Protective Services come in on us. They finally took us, split us up into different homes, and there I went into foster care. That took place up until I was 18. Then I became homeless and on the streets. Kicked around Sparta and Cookeville, McMinnville for the first decade there, I guess you would say, and then I figured out what a Greyhound bus was, so that took me a lot of different places. Just heavy addiction, gang life. I sought out gang and drugs to fulfill that emptiness inside of me. Had a deep mistrust for people. I didn't really mess with anybody. I did have the music though. Through that time, I forgot to say that is the most important part. I acclimated a gift or a talent. Well, it was a talent. Then I didn't know it was a gift at that time. But I used that for closure and fulfillment, for anything that you could get from a human being or a human situation. I used music to fulfill that void. So that kind of like kept me content going on through the years there. Just one bad relationship after another, one bad connection after another. Somehow, somewhere along the way, I became dead inside. That deep mistrust led me to just really just be cold and void, which there's some things I still battle with today. The only stable family member I had was my grandmother, and she passed away in 2015, which, had never really stopped the homelessness or anything. She was just somewhere where I could go and find solace or a hot meal or something like that whenever it was needed. And she ended up passing away at 2015, and I knew things were going to get rougher from that point. She wasn't the warmest thing in my life, but she was the most stable.
She was there.
Yeah, she was there. She didn't really help me much, but she provided like something to look at, like a poster of what it should look like to have yourself together, I guess, in a sense. No father. I was raised by women pretty much. I forgot to tell you that. The music led me to sign my first minuscule record deal in 2015. That's 10 years ago. I guess I was 25. It's 10 years ago. But which put me on the road. I went to Florida and stuff like that and got to showcase with local talents in different cities in Florida and stuff like that. But drug addiction and alcoholism would make that short-lived. I kind of messed that up. That was, like I said, 2015. I signed I did like this viral music video in the couch of a rehabilitation center I was at in Shelbyville, Tennessee. And somebody ended up seeing it. A guy that owned a record label out of Smyrna, Tennessee, ended up seeing the video, and I guess he spent like 3 weeks to a month trying to search for me to find me.
Yeah.
And he come to find out I was in this rehab center that I had put myself in, and I ended up going to meet this guy, and that led to me coming out of there. But I wasn't.
You weren't healed.
I wasn't healed at all.
Yeah.
No, not at all. But it took me, it took me in another direction. It kind of gave me a glimpse of what could be possible.
Yeah.
Because he sat me down. I was in the rehabilitation center when then somebody took me to meet with this cat. You know what I mean? While I was in the rehabilitation center, and he's just like, he sat me down. I sat at his desk, and he's like, "Look, I know all about you. I've been checking up on folks you deal with. I know what you do. I know what you are." He's like, "All I'm wanting to know is if I give you this opportunity, are you gonna screw me? Yeah. You're gonna do the right thing?" And I remember being a bit offended. I was like, "Man, you don't even know me."
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I agreed with the man, and that kind of set me on that point. I get back to Tennessee there, and I'm running around on the street. Meth addiction had really set in at that time, and in my head there was nothing else to kind of live for. I knew I was convinced that I would always be this way. I forgot to say that I had kids too. Around 21 years old, 21, I started having kids with a woman. Ended up having 3 children, which I was not a father at that time. I was just a guy with some babies and a very heavy pill addiction. Pills kind of like really took a toll on me in my 20s.
Yeah.
Let's see, man, it's a lot of it's a blur, I guess. Let me get you to the part to where God comes into play. All right.
Okay.
Like I said, I was an atheist, man. I knew the Bible back to front to back. I usually did, just for the simple fact to argue the point with Christians,
Most atheists do that.
Yeah. I really found enjoyment in just making them mad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was kind of I guess like a weapon to deflect things. So I ended up running into an aunt that had worked for a rehabilitation program. We're not going to go into actual names or details or anything like that because I want to keep it that way. But this place was in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And I ran into her in the grocery store right here in Sparta. And she's like, "Now I was down and out." You know what I mean? I probably walked to get there. You know what I mean? And she's like, "Well, you ought to come and do this, this, and this to get yourself together, Jesse." She's like, "You can come out. I'll take care of you. I'll do this and this." I was like, "Okay, well, give me a night to think on it." I had never really thought about anything like that, and so I went to chew on it for the night, and this is 2016, 2017, something like that, and so I went and slept on it somewhere for the night, and the next morning I gave her a call, and I was like, okay, so this was my idea. I was like, okay, I'm going to take the rehabilitation road.
Yeah.
The bells. I'm going to bypass the God just to try to get a better foothold in life. You know what I mean? I'm going to bypass all of the craziness, or that's what I called it. The nonsense. So yeah, I took off to Pigeon Forge, and I went into this rehabilitation program. Like I said, it was. It wasn't fun. It never was coming out of addiction and going into something like that, especially with a building full of people that I just thought were nuts. I thought they were crazy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, y'all are waking up at 5 or 6 a.m. and this loud music. I was like, you know what I mean? There's many mornings I felt like fighting somebody. But I don't know. I just stayed. I ended up making it. I think I was 4 months into this program. We did a lot of fundraising in these programs, which let me tell you what that entails. They would stick 6 or 8 men in a minivan and send you 12 or 13 hours in a direction to any given state. You know what I mean? Which traveling wasn't a new thing to me. I was a tick on a Greyhound for many years. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I didn't even go into all of that. I made it to Bakersfield, California, and back with a Greyhound in a backpack. You know what I mean? Yeah. I had been a lot of places. But I'm just kind of jotting through this to really bring you, because there's a lot There's
Yeah.
a lot to say and do, and I didn't really write this, so.
Yeah, it's better when it's not scripted.
Absolutely. I guess yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay. I'm into this rehabilitation program, and I don't have many friends there, but I got some family that works for the program in itself, and so I'm just kind of staying distant from everybody. 3 or 4 months goes by, and this guy comes into the program. He was a fallen pastor. He had his own program and stuff like that. He had his own outreach and stuff where he came from, and he was a funny guy. You know what I mean? He had that crude humor, like he was just somebody that I had got along with. But the difference between him and I is he believed in Jesus Christ, and I didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Deep in my heart, and I'm doing everything. I'm going through the motions down there, like, all right, yeah, whatever you say.
Yeah.
But he did. He believed in Jesus Christ and had a firm understanding of him. Way better than I did. But I had a special weapon. I was able to deflect that if I liked you or whatever. I was able to deflect that to get to who you were. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would withstand talking about that just to be able to, to stay in cahoots with you, I guess you would say. Okay, 4 months goes by in this rehabilitation program, and it finally comes up where me and this pastor friend of mine that had come into the program, it had finally got to the point to where they grouped us up for that particular weekend to go on a fundraiser together. And I was like, okay, I was kind of excited about that because I was going to get to spend the weekend with dude,
Yeah.
I met Jesus Christ in New Albany, Indiana. My life had forever changed in New Albany, Indiana. I'll never forget the city because that's exactly where everything had changed for me, or the point to where everything started to change, And okay, so like I said, we were fundraising. New Albany, I don't know if you know much about that. Indiana, it's right across the river from Louisville, Kentucky. There's a bridge that separates the two cities, and so that that makes it easier to find on a map. And I was standing in the parking lot of a Walmart, and that particular weekend, temptation, I guess that's what you could call it, was really, really high in me, and I really was, don't let me negate the fact that I really was trying to do something different. I did have a desire to change myself in a sense, but the Jesus Christ nonsense was still it was still foreign to me, all of that.
And when you're dealing, when I was in addiction and somebody would come to me and talk to me about Jesus, I would look at them and be jealous of them, but still be
right,
completely against it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just always thought they were crazy. I was like, these people something's wrong with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay. That particular weekend, I was 4 months into this program, and that particular weekend, for some reason, temptation was at an all-time alarming high. Do you know what I mean? And everything was in these parking lots. That's another thing about these parking lots. You trying to battle addiction in these parking lots in the weekends. Let me tell you about it. They weren't parking lots. They were battlefields. Do you know what I mean? They were war zones for somebody, for a massive addict.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It was someplace that it was hard to be. Yeah. It was testing ground is what it was, basically. But that particular weekend, like I said, the temptation was an alarming high, man. I could have had everything and anything that I liked or loved approached me in that parking lot, and I was just trying to ignore it. You know what I mean? The temptation was just man, I couldn't explain it. It was just overtaking me. I was just ready to tear my clothes off and run into it, you know what I mean, into a different direction.
Yeah.
Now this pastor buddy of mine, he was just giggling at me, and I was just he was really kind of tickled at my sufferings, because as if he had the antidote or something like that, and I wasn't trying to take it. That's what it seemed like to me. Mm-hmm. Like he had the medicine and I just refused to have any, I guess. And I've battled with it since I've started with all of this because of how far-fetched it may sound. But I'm going to give it to you in the account that I seen it. You know what I mean? like I said, that temptation had me to the point to where I couldn't hear or see anything. I was just blinded. You know what I mean? I couldn't focus on what anybody was saying. Like the addiction was ramping up in me. You know what I mean? It was really, really trying to take me out of there. Mm-hmm. It was getting ready to drag me out of there. And but I just like I didn't succumb to it. I really was like just not broken by it. I was fighting it. You know, finally in my own little way. And I'm sitting there in front of this Walmart parking lot, the Walmart door, I'm sorry. I'm standing in the parking lot. And you kind of like fish for people as they come out of the door there. Mm-hmm. And you've got a team of men at this door and a team of men at another door with tables, with shirts and bracelets, what have you on it. Just Jesus stuff that you could buy or get for a donation that you made to the outreach in itself, and you could pick something off the table. My pastor friend was manning the table, and I was talking to the people as they come out, and it pretty much sounds like this: "Hey, would you like to make a donation to help a drug addict in need?" That's what it was. You know what I mean? And maybe some further conversation if they asked you anything else, or most of them would just go around you without saying anything. And there was a few that would give you some money and want to talk to you and stuff like that. But I'm standing there, and this girl, I didn't see her anywhere. She just come out of nowhere, and she was standing like where she was, outside of my peripheral, and I didn't see her. I was like, but when I did, I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? Yeah. And she just looked at me and like cocked her head like a dog trying to understand, you know what I mean? She was really like trying to figure out what we were doing. On, yeah, but she didn't say a word. And she started to walk to the door, and my pastor buddy called her over there, and he talked to her, and I'm still standing here, you know what I'm saying? I'm going through my struggle, just trying to do my thing, because at that point, like I said, I'm really ready to just leave. Mm-hmm. I'll take this money that I have from the outreach in my pocket, and I will just sneak off and go, because I knew how to. You know what I mean? I wasn't going to feel trapped by any means, but I was fighting that feeling. So she goes into the store, and maybe 20 or 30 minutes go by, and I'm still standing there. I can't, like I said, I'm fighting addiction so hard I can't even see her. Fighting temptation, not addiction. But I guess it's one and the same, I guess. I'm standing there, I'm doing the same thing. I'm fishing for people outside of this door. And she comes back. She's right in the same spot, and I don't see her again. She sneaks up on me like, whoa, enough to like spook me. And I'm like, man, what is going on? She didn't say a word. Pastor calls her over there again. My little pastor buddy calls her over there again, and he puts his hand on her and he's talking to her. He called me big boy. He's like, hey, big boy, come over here. And I was like, okay. He's like, here's what I need you to do. I just need you to stand behind this girl. You know what I mean? Yeah. At all costs, just don't let her fall. And I'm like, man, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm going to take a demon out of this girl. And I'm like, do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm like, whatever, dude. You know what I mean? But like bear in mind, like he got obedience from me because he was my boy. You know what I mean? So I stood there, and he's like, at all costs, no matter what happens, just don't let her fall. Don't let her fall. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, you got it. You know what I mean? So he starts speaking in tongues, and he's kind of like got his hand in front of her, and he's just steadily speaking in tongues, and it's almost as if he's like warming his palm up or something like that before he touches her, and she starts to like just kind of like twist and jerk or something like that, I guess. And I'm standing behind her at a close enough rate to like feel her body movements, and see them real well. And he's just speaking in tongues, and then he reaches out and he touches the middle of her chest. He touches her sternum bone. And whenever he does that, she sees it straight up. Boom! And like every muscle in her body becomes like just jacked, just like strung tight, and she falls back into my arms. So it was almost like she turned stiff cold dead. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And she falls back into my arms, and I'm like, okay, like I'm holding her. And he's steadily just speaking tongues, and he's got his hand right there on her breastbone, right there on her chest, and he's doing it. He's doing it. This is where it's going to get a little interesting. Her neck begins to turn and there's a voice coming out of her mouth. And like I said, I had been a lot of places and heard a lot of people speak. I've heard a lot of different languages, but I didn't recognize the one that was coming out of her mouth. And her neck starts to turn. Her eyes have rolled all the way back in her head to where they're whites. I could just see the whites of her eyes. And her neck turns like an owl. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like all the way back, turn to look at me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And almost at a, what would that be, 60 degrees, or not 180. 180 is all the way around, but I'm talking about it almost came all the way around to look at me. And her neck and head reared back like she was fixing to snap and bite my face. And she's speaking this, and I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm tripping, okay, at this point, but I'm still just like, okay. And he's still doing it. Like, man, all of this stuff, it took a couple of minutes to transpire, but it just happened like that. You know what I mean? And he's still steadily speaking. And at that point, I'll never forget it. At that point, everything in my ears and like the sound around me just muted. And I heard a voice that said, I know you don't understand what's going on right now, but all I need you to do is thank me. Say my name and thank me. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's all. Yes. I just kept repeating. I was like, okay, well, thank you, Jesus, I just said, thank you. And that's all I did. And like I said, like I'm not hearing anything, the cars, the horns, anything. I can't hear people. It's complete silence. And let me recollect this the best way I know how. Okay, like I said, she's kind of like limp into my arm's reach there in my chest, and he's steadily speaking. And she begins to ascend out of my arms. Do you know what I mean? Like she comes out of my arms, and there for a second I thought she had like regained herself and was like walking to him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I looked down, and her feet
weren't walking. Yeah,
were 4 to 6 inches from the concrete.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? She was levitating. You know what I mean? In front of my eyes. And I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm like, well, at that point, like, I don't know. It was almost like my mind had run obsolete. Like I just like deleted any and every kind of feeling or thought that I had ever had at that moment. And I'm froze. I'm stuck. And okay, at this point, this is crazy too. My pastor buddy had a walkie-talkie on his hip, right, on his belt line, so we could communicate with the other door. They had one. He had a walkie-talkie too, so we could talk to each other. Say if we needed a different size shirt or something, we would run it back and forth to one another. There's a man that can attest to this too. He was an old man. He's from here in Sparta, but he worked at the same rehabilitation program. So he was kind of there to witness everything too. And I'm not sure where my pastor buddy is today, but if you ever see this man, I love you, man. Maybe I'll see you again. He had a walkie-talkie on his belt. And she's in midair enough to where I can see her feet had left the concrete. But whatever was in her jumped out and caught the frequency of that pastor's walkie-talkie on his belt, and I could hear it clear as day. And it was almost as if like 1,000 pair of scissors like turning into a voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A screeching like.
It was worse than that. Like I can't explain it, but yeah, it was violently, like it was scary. You know what I mean? And I heard that, and a stiff wind. It was moderately windy that day. And a stiff wind had caught the bottom of that little folding table enough to flip it. And the shirts and the bracelets go everywhere. Do you know what I mean? They fly plumb down the parking lot. Yeah. So, like, I'm froze, okay? I'm stuck in the middle of this, and like, I'm thanking Jesus. I go back to that, I'm thanking Jesus, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus. And then she just slowly, like, comes down, and her feet just touch. As soon as her feet touch the ground, she goes, whoa! You know what I mean? And just, like, snaps back to. And she comes out of my arms and out from between me and my pastor buddy, and she just for some reason, when her feet touch the ground, she immediately strikes out and goes to start picking up our shirts and the bracelets and stuff. And I'm like, and she's moving back and forth past me, and I'm like,
yeah,
you know, like
you just went through all this.
Yeah, well, I'm jumping at her like she's a spider. You know what I mean? I'm like, you know, like I'm like I don't. I was scared of her.
Yeah.
She goes and picks up all of these things, and a pastor buddy, he's running around catching her. Like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. And I was like, man, I need to go sit down for a minute. You know what I mean? So I went to the van, and I'll never forget it. I just began to like ugly cry. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's all I really know how to do. And he come out there, I must have cried for like 30 minutes or something like that, 30, 40 minutes before he come out to the van there to talk to me. He's like, big boy, what's going on? What's wrong? He was like, did that bother you somehow? And I was like, bro, any and everything. That just like toppled any and everything that I thought I knew. You know what I mean? Anything that I knew or felt or had a hold of, that completely, like, I did not know what to say to him. I was just astounded. And he's like, man, he's like, you're tripping over that. He said, he's knelt down, you know, and you know, almost on one knee and talking to me. He's like, bro, don't you know that you're capable of that too?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, bro. He's like, don't you know that you can do that thing? You're empowered and equipped, entitled to do that same thing too. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know, that so I guess you could say like the seed was planted. Okay, now here's the interesting. This is wild. I'll never forget it. Her name is Star, that little girl, and I had a little cross and chain on my neck. It was a little black metalled. It was a nice looking chain and charm, and I gave it to her. I was like, here, I want you to have this. I was like, I'll never forget this day in my life. That's been several years ago today. And so the leader of the group, this old man, comes over and he tries to help us extract some information from her to help her, you know.
Yeah.
She knew her name and she knew a phone number. That's all we could get out of her. And the phone number, she didn't know who it was, but we called it. And he's like, yes, we're here with Star. And this lady on the other phone goes, what? You have her? You're with her? You know what I mean? Like, these people are tripping out. There's like, stay where you are. We are on our way. And it turns out this girl had been wandering the streets for 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. And her family or nobody had seen her.
Yeah.
And she had just been wandering the streets. And they get there and like, it's like this big happy family get together. Like, these people are crying and like absolutely like glad to see her. Thought they were never going to see her again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was the day that my life had changed. The seed had planted out. We were on the way back that weekend, and I'll never forget it. I said, I'm not going to mention no names, but I asked this old man, the leader of the group, which is a good friend of mine too. He was an addict, come from Sparta, like I said, and so we knew each other. And I asked him, I was like, man, why me? You know what I mean? I was like, there are men that get up at 4:30 in the morning and go into that chapel to press in. Do you know what I mean? And just like they're in his word, they're seriously seeking him, you know, and this and this. They're actually trying to do something about having a relationship with him. I was like, why did he pick me? I'll never forget it. Dude stops the van, you know, like pretty much stomps on the brakes and stops the van, and he goes, why not?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's exactly what he said. He said, why not? He's like, who do you think's going to tell the story best? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, somebody that came from something that you came from. I'll never forget it. It was a Holy Ghost party on the way back. The music's blaring, the windows are down, and we're tripping out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're thanking God in the best way we know possible.
Mm-hmm.
But like I get that, that's not the end of the road, though. You know what I mean? That was just the seed.
Yes.
Because let me tell you what we're battling against, really. I seen all of that, okay? And I just told her son this, my stepson this, the other day. This is how strong that the flesh is. I seen that with my very eyes, and it changed and transformed me that day for the better. But several years have passed by, and my flesh still tries to convince or trick me that didn't. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There are still doubts and still fears that I combat against today. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, like, that's what we're up against. You know, this is a long road to when I meet her. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a darker, deeper. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I grew up in the Pentecostal church and seen all kinds of stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I still went the direction that I went.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. So that happens. Needless to say, I didn't even graduate that program. Do you know what I mean? I took what I could. Oh yeah. Well, let me tell you what led me out of there. We get back, and my pastor friend, he was a new student there. Like, word had reached around, like what had happened to me. Oh, that's right. I was a different person when we come back, and everybody knew it. These 50 men knew it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I came back, I had read that Bible. I knew it. I could state some of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But when I came back, all those words began to untangle and unravel in front of my eyes. Do you hear me?
Yes.
This sentence meant something, and then it meant something else, and then tomorrow it meant another thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
These words were absolutely universal, on swivel. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Like, they meant things, and they just began to untangle before my very eyes and became, I don't know. I don't know. They became
Awakening.
Weapons. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like stuff like that. They come alive. You know what I mean? Before that, they were just words, and now I come back with some sort of understanding of what was going on here, and I knew that I knew at that time that there was still a lot of work to be done. I'm talking about, it's hard to scratch 30 years of paint off the wall without, that old coat coming through to shine through. You know what I mean? And I'm on, like, I celebrated 5 years clean and sober yesterday. You know what I mean? Yeah. But
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
It is.
But that came with, there's some times where I come off the rails a couple, 3 years ago. Not to the point to where, like, it got that bad, but still, like, I knew that it was going to be a process. You know what I mean? Because I come back and I ended up, there was another 10 years of addiction in me there. Do you know what I mean? That's 2005. Well, we'll say 5 years of addiction, right? Or something like that. I come back here and got heavily addicted to meth and selling drugs, which I had already had for a long time, but I just went back to it. But I knew now, you know what I mean? Like, and people around me started to understand too. When I came back out of that program, I'll never forget it. It was the summer. It was like mid-June, mid-July or something like that. And I came back to Sparta. And coming out from under that covering or wherever I was, it was the best way I can explain it when I got back to Sparta. It was like a thirst in my mouth, like a desert. It was like it was like walking among dead people.
Yeah.
It was, I'm serious. It was like scary like that. And I knew that, but I still survived in that environment like that for another close to 5 years. It was like a square peg in a round hole. Like I knew I didn't fit anymore, but like I had been acclimated to it so long that I knew how to do it. Yes. You know what I mean? But in my mind and in my heart, I knew that I wasn't. For some reason, he had chose me to not be meant for this no more. Mm-hmm. So I went through that, but I ended up with a good dose of drug-induced paranoid schizophrenia and had a psychotic, my mind slipped out from under me there for a little while, and it had gotten really bad to the point to where, like, I was wanted in several counties. When I finally come down to, I called the police on myself. I was wanted in several counties. Mm-hmm. And I just told this the other day at work. I was like, He got there. Officer Cunningham met me at the gas station right over here across from Frank's. That was it. I had made the people, I thought they were trying to kill me or something.
Yeah.
And I made them leave me right there at the gas station. I had nothing. It was 30 degrees outside. It was cold. I was tripping. Hey, the guy in the store was like, bro, you're going to have to do something. You got to come out of here. I called my mother to see if she could help me, one lifeline, and she was like, there's nothing I can do for you. And I was like, okay. I had nobody to call, had nowhere to go. It was it. And I was licked, you know, and I was like, do me a favor, bro, call the cops, you know.
Yeah.
I did. I made him call the cops, and he did. And the officer come up, and this is 2020. It's December 5th of 2020. I'll never forget it. We're standing over there, and he goes and gets on the phone. I said, look here, buddy, Warren, White, or Putnam, take your pick. You know, it does not matter. I can go to any jail. I'm wanted in all of them. So let's take a pick. Let's get it cracking.
Yeah.
He goes and he goes and gets on his cell phone, and he's like, he's over there for a couple of minutes. And people are driving by, seeing me and him, you know, like, which that didn't matter. I was, you know, trying to not pay attention to it. I was still thinking somebody was coming to kill me. Yeah. You know, I was like, bro, they're coming.
We're gonna have to get out of here.
We're gonna have to get out of here.
Let's go.
Yeah, because I mean the reason why that was happening though is because I was in some pretty dangerous situations. Something did happen, but then like something.
Your mind over.
Well, when that bad thing did happen, like it scared me to the point to where like these situations, like similar little things would happen, and it would trigger my mind to where I thought it was trying to happen again. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Absolutely. And so he's on his phone, and the cop is, and he comes back, kind of him, he ends his phone call, and he's like, brother, I don't know if we're going to be able to take you. He's at COVID. Do you know what I mean? Oh, yeah. It's bad when you can't get arrested. Yeah. Yeah. It's he's like, I don't know if any of these jails will accept you. And I told him this. Cunningham's a big dude, and I was willing to do this. But I said, bro, you're just a spoke on a wheel. I was like, if I've got to hit you right now, I will. I'll punch you. You know what I mean? Just so I get a ride to go with you. You know? And I was like, it's nothing personal, but if I have to assault you, then I will. Yeah. So out of pity for me, he finds a way to get me arrested and booked into White County Jail. And I spent 4 or 5 days in a medical cell right there in Holden. I got a beard. I'm going to try to find the mugshot for you so you can put that on there. I got a beard. I got 3/4 of my head shaved, and it's hanging. I looked crazy. And and I was out of my mind. They were drawing straws up there behind the desk to see who was going to open the door to feed me. Oh, they were scared of me. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was unpredictable and flat, still scared to boot. You know what I mean? Like I was out of my mind. That time led to I was in there for a while. It was 2020. That time I spent a year, right? And then I come out.
Well, did they let you out for COVID?
No. No. I was released with a bunch of money. No, that had to be 2019 then, because 2020 I was done. I had already had the money and stuff. Okay, I've got my times a little crossed here, but we'll get to the point to where like I had done a whole bunch of time that time. Like I said, I had 3 counties worth to get to, and I came out. And I had a year clean. I didn't use or nothing inside of jail. I had a stride to do something different. I wanted to, and I had a duffel bag, and I found a job. Somebody you and I talked about it just a little earlier, It was like, okay, hey, I got you a job. Anyway, I took that job on a construction crew or whatnot. I had a duffel bag. I didn't have no place to live, but I had a want to do something different. I had a desire to want to do something different. So the guy whose house we're building for is a big, beautiful house out in Tolleson Town, middle of the woods, $1 million home. And we're building, like I said, I'm on the construction crew that's building this house. This dude takes a liking to me. You know what I mean? He's a pastor, well-renowned pastor. Matter of fact, he's like the president of TPN, it's Tennessee Pastors Network or something like that. Yeah. And this dude absolutely, he just takes his shine to me. We get to talking about God and just chit-chatting back and forth. And after that week of me living in my foreman's truck with my duffel bag, he comes with my paycheck that Friday, and he's like, come with me. And he's like, get your bag. So I get my bag, and I go with him, and he takes me down over here off 111, and he's got this apartment. And
Wow.
and he hands me a key, and he's like, here, I want you to take a few months, you know what I mean? He's like, we'll talk about rent here in a few months after you get a job, you know what I'm saying? Not this job. He told me, go get another job.
Yeah.
You know, I guess he kind of knew what was up. So I did that. I went and got another job, and I had lived there for several months, and I'm almost coming to the part to where we meet, which is in discipleship, of a church and some pastors that we won't name, you know what I mean? I met her under discipleship. I went into discipleship at this church, and then we met, which we had met previously once at another rehabilitation program that they had come to preach at previously to us meeting. But when I got out, that led me, to somehow, the pastor's brother is how I got connected with them when I got out, because I knew him. I ended up becoming wanted by the law again through parole or something like that during my year of sobriety. So I had that coming up, and it come to the point to where I just couldn't exceed anymore. You know what I mean? I had to do something I had to go. A change was calling for real. Like I had to go and turn myself in and stuff like that. And we had started talking. We've been married 3 years in May, right? 3 years in May. And so I pack up all my stuff and I put it to her house, at that time. And we were talking about, things of the future of that nature. And I had to go turn myself in, But that was the last, time I spent
90 days.
40.
Yeah, 40 days.
40 days.
Yeah.
I spent 40 days.
That's a long 40 days.
Well,
go ahead.
that's what the Lord told me we were looking at how long did you have? 6
6
or 8?
years.
Yeah.
6 years. They were
And,
trying to send me back to prison, which, I went once way back in 20-umpteen, like I forgot to say that, but it was only 18 months worth.
Yeah.
But I caught a big boy charge in 2016, which led me to parole and, doing some and running.
Yeah.
It led me to put me on 6 years paper. But go ahead.
Yeah, the Lord told me 40 days, and he was like, I can't see that, and I'm like,
I was like, that ain't going to happen.
I know what he can do in 40 days, and
They gave me a trial. I had spent 40 days waiting on court. I called the parole officers and stuff, and I was like, hey, look, this is it. I'm coming to turn myself in. I had sobriety, but I had trouble with the law.
Yeah.
so that showed favor, right? So he had already started being sober, working with that pastor. That pastor was his landlord.
Yeah.
And then him turning himself in showed favor. So
Now, the DA wanted to send me. That was their decision.
Yeah.
They were like, now, give me one reason right now as to why I shouldn't send you back to prison, to flatten this 6 years. So I had 2 pastors and her testify for me at this hearing.
Yeah.
And, dude, I've never experienced God's favor in a stronger way that day.
Yes.
Because he was like, I hear you. He told the DA, I was like, I hear what you want. But let me, I'm going to say something and then I'll make my ruling. That's what he said, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's Judge McKenzie in Cookeville.
Okay.
And
she was grilling, and she was this. And I was like testifying to what God done for me, so he's going to do it for him. And I seen the evidence of his work in his life.
It seems like when you're doing better, like God makes a way. Like the
oh
previous time
man,
you go to jail and you're actually doing bad, it's like it gets laid to you. But then when you're trying to prove yourself, he finds a way.
He does,
And
absolutely.
he used me and the 2 pastors to testify his character on his behalf.
Yeah.
And God showed up.
Judge McKenzie, he's like, he
was
shut the
guilty.
DA down. He shut her up. He's like, I hear you. He's like, I'm going to say something real fast and then I'll make my ruling. That's what he said. And he's like, too many times this happens. He's like, we've got guys like this falling through the cracks that are really trying to do something about this, but getting backburned. You know what I mean? Trying to change something, but stuck in the same cycle. No kind of options to make a new decision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like, brother, I'm going to turn you back out on this 6 years parole. He looked me.
Repented.
He repented right there in front of everybody. He's like, I have to repent because I'm He's like, because I'm guilty of it.
I looked at y'all like numbers and a robotic system for far too long.
Yeah. Hey, look here, the court trap. They had that swung open. They're letting these guys watch my court hearing now. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Almost as if like it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to turn you back out on this 6 years paper. He's like, because I see what's going on here. But he's like, don't make a fool out of me. Don't make me look stupid, bro. And I was like, man, I hope I don't let that guy down, because I felt his sincerity.
Wanted to try hard, to make sure you got through that.
Yeah, I did.
He's still trying to believe for himself at this point.
I'm still trying to figure.
That first year of like God really showing up, placing people in his life.
I'm trying to process it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm still trying to process what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so that leads to, I spent what, another year or two, I don't know, but like I done another year or two of parole, and then somehow God showed up again, and I called in a couple of 3 summers ago to check in to see when my next meeting was, and my parole officer's like, no, you're done.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like
I had been on parole or probation since I was 16, juvenile probation. Yeah. I had never beat parole or paper in my life. I had been in this vicious cycle of spending a year, coming out 6 months, going in a year and a half. I spent 95% of my Christmases and birthdays and Thanksgivings in jail. That's all I ever knew, except for the times whenever I was traveling, and even then I was wanted.
Yeah.
So I knew when I come back that it was just a matter of time before I had to go again. You know what I mean? Just constant vicious cycles. But I did it, man. I finished parole, and then after that, I walked another long road. I had prayed for a long time after that. Back then, you didn't want me around your kids. You didn't want me around no kids. Mm-hmm. So I started praying for a relationship with mine. I didn't even know them.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, hey, this might be testimonial, but this morning I'm here with you to report. Do you see what I'm saying to you? God is everything, man, and I promise you, he just as real as me and you sitting here talking. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm here to testify of his goodness and to tell you what he's done on my behalf, on her behalf, on that house full of kids over there that I have 100% custody of on their behalf.
Come on.
Do you feel me?
Yes.
On everything's behalf. Man, I can't even, some days I'm speechless. Some mornings I can't wake up and think of another thing to say except thank you.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
I do.
And that's it, man. But that's just the testimony up to this point. And tell you, you can check in with me again in another 10 years. We might have more, but it ain't over. That's all I know to tell you. I'm just really basically getting started. Yes. We ain't even begun yet. And now that the foundation, that the hole's packed down in dirt, now we're building. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
I'm in the foundation stages. I'm making music with the ministry. I'm on like that, and hey, we ain't even got into we're working on it. You hear me? It ain't even started, but this morning, that's what I came to do. I told her before we got over here, I was like, I ain't coming to testify, I'm coming to report. Yes. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is what's happening.
I love that.
This is what's happening. And anybody out there that sees this, just let everything that I say to you, just let everything that I say be true, as true as it can be. Because we know that man is a liar and God's the only true thing.
Well,
that's what I have to say. Go for it.
Also, think about it really, like in 4 years' time, like when you really decided to just go and let God move in your life, you flattened everything. You're completely off state and parole. Your children are back in your life, and now they're in your home. You're married. God gave us 8 kids together. Now he's transitioned his music to glorify God.
In a nutshell, that is the best. Detailed account I can give you of my testimony.
Relentless faith, baby. Romans 10:13 states that any man calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Let's get after it. Yo, I'm about to walk it out in front of them now. I don't really care if they make fun of me now. I got the blood of the lamb to cover me now. When I got a relentless few to run with me now. I ran from the Father in every direction possible. Complicated a lot, even the simple obstacles. When it came to trouble, impossible seemed plausible. But he ain't even sweated, I swear I feel like the prodigal. Thank you, Jesus. And I ain't praying for no fatted calf, but I know daddy will put it all up on me if I ask. Like when he raised me up and made me a dad, gave me a wife for life and done away with my past. Hey, I never knew that life could be this incredible. I'm on a permanent drip, no medicine or edibles. The minute he cut me loose, man, I promised to reach the rest of them. Found new muscles like I always ate my vegetables. New man with a second wind, that's the fun of it. You can keep the receipt though, cause I ain't returning none of it. Spent too many days suicidal and struggling. Wasted a lot of nights away with the pain and suffering. Just kinda walking in the wrong direction. I was talking to my own reflection. I was sort of wondering if I spent so many days walking in the wrong direction. Talking to my own reflection, wondering if I even got what it takes to turn it around. Been so many nights thinking I will make it to sunrise. And if I did, I would be surprised. But the Father started calling for me, just like he's calling for you. I used to wonder what my life would be like had I just rolled over and gave up the fight. You'll never be good enough, you won't ever get it together. You didn't have too many chances, it won't ever get better. But God kicked in the door to my heart and spoke to the lies and therefore tore them apart. The rest is history, now I box from victory. Finally walking in places that I was never fit to be. Forfeited the misery, laid it down at the feet of the Father. Forgave my enemies, now heaven's my vicinity. Reaching for his divinities, never been an amenity till the minute the Trinity made its mission to intervene. So I no longer navigate with the pain because I'm living in Christ. So if I die, it's a gain. I want everybody to know it, I won't ever be the same. I want everybody to see him in everything that I say. Kinda walking in the wrong direction. I was talking to my own reflection. I was sort of wondering if I spent so many days walking in the wrong direction. Talking to my own reflection, wondering if I even got what it takes to turn it around. Been so many nights thinking I won't make it to sunrise. And if I did, I would be surprised. But the Father started calling for me, just like he's calling for you. I spent so many days walking in the wrong direction. Talking to my own reflection, wondering if I even got what it takes to turn it around. Been so many nights thinking I would make it to sunrise. And if I did, I would be surprised. But the Father started calling for me, just like he's calling for you.